Look at the weather.
It's beautiful here.
Non-stop rain.
Oh, man, it is a blazer out there.
It's cold and it's shivery.
It is cold.
Really coming down here.
I really enjoy your weather reports.
From the All Indiana Podcast Network, we're talking weather in a whole new way. From historical events to what's coming up, plus weather news, science, safety, fun facts, and more.
I like where this is going.
This is Weather Weekly. Weather Weekly with Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey.
It is Weather Weekly, a special one here that we will dub Snow Talk. It's episode number 53, and guess what? We've got another late week winter system after a very active week this week that's bringing some pretty mild temperatures to the area as we are recording this and dropping the podcast early on a Tuesday with temperatures into the 60s and some pretty heavy rain. But we do have another large winter system that will be taking aim on the Midwest. And like the last several weeks, it does bring a whole host of precipitation types, including snow, sleet, freezing rain, and rain. So we're a couple of days out from the event. We're going to talk about what we know and kind of the initial forecast as we get a little bit closer to another winter system making its way to central Indiana. That's coming up next here on Weather Weekly.
Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what kind of romance you're into, you don't have to choose just one. Fancy a dalliance with a duke, or maybe a steamy billionaire. You could find a book boyfriend in the city and another one tearing it up on the hockey field. And if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Discover modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest Romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. And of course, all the really steamy stuff. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
It is episode 53 here of Weather Weekly. And again, kind of like we've done the past couple of weeks, kind of a special podcast. And we'll probably do multiple ones again this week to kind of keep you updated on the winter weather potential upcoming here for late week, specifically for late on the 23rd. That's Wednesday night. And heading into Thursday, the 24th of February here, 2022, where, again, this one may not be quite as of a thump as initially thought. I had a lot of people reaching out on social media. There was kind of some big numbers. And if you've listened to this podcast long enough, you know that I'm not a big fan of starting to put out that raw data several days in advance. But what we try to watch for, there's nothing wrong with looking ahead and trying to find some model consistency, which we have when it came to at least the track of this system, which puts it over the Midwest. Now, there's going to be a lot of fine tuning when you really dive in deep, because like the last, 3 weeks that we've had, we kind of split the state in half to where parts of the state are going to see all snow, parts of the state are going to see all rain, and in between, we're left with kind of an icy sleet mix changeover a bit from rain to snow. So obviously that's going to impact totals. Where that line kind of lies, we have kind of a good indication and a good starting point, but we're not 100% sold on exactly where that line's going to set up. And so we're not 100% sold on snowfall accumulation, which is kind of the moneymaker and what everybody really wants to know when you get to this part of the forecast. So let me kind of tell you about what we do know and where we are headed. So essentially what we're going to have, and I'm recording this on Tuesday, February 22nd at 9 o'clock in the morning, where we are locked in with really heavy rain. We're going to be dealing with potentially 1 to 2+ inches of rainfall for central and southern Indiana for much of the day on Tuesday, maybe even a few stronger storms in the southern part of the state. Temperatures are into the 60s. We had that on Monday. We're likely going to finish the day off on Tuesday with numbers into the 60s as well. Now, much colder air is going to start filing in here by Tuesday night. Wednesday, for the most part, is going to be a pretty dry day with numbers into the kind of mid 30s. So that's a little bit below average, obviously significantly colder than what we have experienced over the last couple of days. But that does set the stage then for what will be heading our way. So I'm going to kind of walk you through what I'm looking at visually at the same time. All right. I'm going based off the European model. And like I said, I think we're relatively quiet as we go through the day on Wednesday. Now, from all indications, it looks like this is kind of, again, a double-barreled system. And what I mean by that is we'll get two waves of precipitation kind of riding in to central Indiana. The first of which looks to arrive probably around or shortly after midnight, Wednesday night into Thursday morning. It looks like, at least if you go by the European model, you're not going to get a lot of moisture with this, but we're probably going to be on the colder end of things in central Indiana. Southern Indiana may be just warm enough that you get kind of a freezing rain threat or sleet, or maybe kind of a changeover from rain to snow. But I do think along the I-70 corridor, we initially could see a little bit of snow out of that. That could lead to maybe an inch or two, judging by what the European is putting out in terms of snowfall. So that could lead to maybe some slick spots as we head into your Thursday morning drive. All right. That's wave number one. Wave number two then will arrive likely by Thursday afternoon. And this one is a little more problematic because there's going to be a little bit more moisture involved. You've got what we would call more forcing. You got a big area of low pressure that's going to ride to our south. So that's kind of the trigger mechanism for more of this moisture to get pulled in, more of this forcing mechanism to squeeze out the precipitation, if you will. And right now, judging off the Euro, and really I could flip over to the American model, the GFS, and it's kind of advertising the same thing, that the I-70 corridor is basically going to be that boundary line. Again, it seems like we're a broken record, but it always seems to be kind of the dividing line, where we're going to have kind of that freezing rain or sleet threat around there for this second wave. It appears that the northern third of the state is likely going to be socked in with steady and at times heavy snow by this time frame. And the southern third of the state is likely going to be involved with rain. That likely will continue through late night, possibly even into the overnight hours. Now, we'll get on the back end of this storm complex by Friday morning, and so I do think we will see a little bit of a changeover to snow as the colder air kind of funnels in back behind this system. Now, I'm not going to go off of what the European is saying. What I'm going to do at this point, because there's not as much model consistency as we would like when you are, say, 48 hours out from the initial start of the event. So I'm going to use the national blend of models, all right? So what this is doing is it is blending several models together to get you there. I don't know if this is exactly what's going to play out, but this is probably the better solution than just going with one particular model at this point, all right? And I will say this as I'm looking at this, and I'll try to describe this to you since we're obviously doing this as an audio version, that there's probably going to be more of a thin strip of heavy accumulation somewhere in the northern third of the state. It is certain, well, not certain. It is becoming a little bit more clear, though. Not 100% set in stone, but it's becoming a little more clear that this storm maybe gets its act together a little more so as it moves into New England. I think it's probably going to be a bigger thump once you get into, say, northern Pennsylvania, upstate New York, and then sliding into New England, where they could see numbers exceeding 6, 7, 8 plus inches of snowfall. At this point, I don't see that happening as a widespread feature. I wouldn't rule out maybe a thin strip of that somewhere in the state, but at least in terms of this initial forecast, I'm not going to go that high. So basically around the I-70 corridor, I would say essentially including, I'll go right at I-70. I'll say maybe 2 to 3 inches and that would go north to a line of, say, up to around Muncie to Kokomo to Crawfordsville. All right. So kind of a thin band of maybe 2 to 3 inches of snow there. I'd say maybe around an inch of snow when you get into the southern metro counties. So that's Martinsville, that's Franklin, that's Shelbyville, Rushville, that line, even Connorsville there. You're maybe looking at around an inch, possibly 1 to 2 inches there. Okay. Where we may get into the 3 to 4 inch range is places like Kokomo, Peru, Logansport, Marion, Hartford City, Fort Wayne, that kind of vicinity, and it may stretch all the way up to the state line, up to South Bend. So that's kind of the 3 to 4 plus is what I'll say, because I do think there will be a band of snow that potentially could have some higher amounts. Now, I'll say this. I'm judging that off of what my on-air computer run was advertising for the morning shows here for Tuesday morning. But I'll also say this. It very much overdid the snow in northern Indiana for our last event. It went as high as 12 to 15 inches. We got nowhere near that. So that's why I'm kind of using more caution and using this blend here. Again, I want to say that there could be the possibility that there could be some isolated higher amounts, but I'm just not sold on that yet, and so I don't want to fully commit to this. So I think this is a good starting point. So I think you're kind of in that, if you want to really get in the metro area, 1 to 3 inch range around the metro area, and then north, say from I'd say the northern third of the state, you're more in the 3 to 5, and we'll put 3 to 5 plus with the potential of maybe seeing some slightly higher amounts. So that's where we're at right now. I think the bottom line that I really want to drive home is I think the Thursday morning commute, and again, this is for February 24th, Thursday, February 24th. The Thursday morning commute could be on the slick side, and the Thursday evening drive is going to be messy. Now, whether that be snow or ice, I think it still could be extremely difficult travel. So Thursday morning, Thursday evening, both commutes are in jeopardy of being at least problematic. So something you need to be aware of. We will keep on it. Updates all the time on our social media networks, of course, at wishtv.com/weather. And we anticipate to do another podcast that we will drop Wednesday before lunchtime to give you a fresh update. And of course, we'll be doing some Facebook Lives as well. I'm hoping to actually kind of combine the two and do a Facebook Live along with doing this podcast as well, so I can actually answer some questions that people can have in real time that you may be asking as you're listening to this right now. But if you do have specific questions, please feel free to send those along. Marcus.bailey@wishtv.com will get you to my email inbox, and I will try to address that either personally or I can address it in the next podcast, which will be dropping tomorrow on the 23rd. We'll look ahead to the rest of your forecast the next 8 to 10 days. That's coming up next here on Weather Weekly. All right, look at your forecast here for the rest of the week. Obviously, we do turn colder for your Wednesday. I think we'll be dry with highs in the mid-30s until late Wednesday night. That's when we'll get this winter system moving in here, when we'll get those chances for mixture and snow on and off with a couple of waves here for your Thursday. Thursday's highs in the low 30s. Friday, we'll have some leftover snow showers in the morning. I do think we'll start to dry things out, hopefully by the afternoon. Highs will be in the low 30s. Weekend looks dry right now. Likely looking at numbers into the mid 30s both Saturday and Sunday. Unfortunately, I just don't see a big warm up in store early next week. In fact, coldest day in the extended likely will be on Monday. With partly cloudy conditions, we'll likely see numbers into the mid 20s as we head back to work and school on Monday. We may see a little bit of a bounce back starting Tuesday and Wednesday. But again, not looking overly warm over kind of the long term here. Going over the extended, I'm just looking at the European model data here, which has done a pretty good job temperature-wise. I mentioned going into next week, we'll have temperatures in the 20s. Actually, I want to look at the national blend of models, which is kind of the standard of what we look at now as meteorologists. It blends all of the models together. Staying pretty chilly, I think, through early into the work week. However, as we kind of enter into March. There are some hints. By late week, we could see some numbers jumping back into the 50s, potentially by the 3rd and the 4th, which would be Thursday and Friday. So we'll keep an eye on that as you're starting to get to this time of year where our temperature swings are going to be a little bit more extreme. We certainly will be feeling that this week after a couple of days of 60-degree weather and then falling back to overnight lows into the teens and 20s. That's a pretty significant swing. So this is kind of the beginning of that time period when we start wrapping up February, going into March. We're entering into the early spring period, and so these temperature swings are very common. We expect to do another snow talk for you here coming up tomorrow. That will be Wednesday the 23rd to keep you updated on this next winter system. And while you're here, make sure to check out the website, wishtv.com. We also would love to have you download the Storm Track A weather app. We can send you alerts right to your phone. It's got Storm Tracker radar as well. Really useful tool as we head into this, again, complex system that will be slicking things up as we head into Thursday. If you have any comments or concerns, feel free to shoot me an email at marcus.bailey@wishtv.com. You can also reach out to me on social media. That is Marcus Bailey Weather on Facebook and Instagram. And you can find me on Twitter at Marcus Bailey as well. While you're here, make sure to check out all the other great podcasts, all part of the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Discover more from Storm Track 8 Weather and Wish TV. Online at wishtv.com and when you follow Wish TV on Facebook. Plus, be sure to check out more great podcasts from the All Indiana Podcast Network now at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.